Brandon Upson is a father, a husband, a political strategist, and just recently, he was the campaign manager for Phil Noble's gubernatorial run. I speak exclusively with Brandon for a special edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. And listen to this interview later on iHeartRadio. Brandon Upson, it's so good to see you.
Man, it's great to see you.
I appreciate it greatly.
Yeah, I've been waiting a long time to be able to.
And here we are, by the grace of God. I understand from your LinkedIn profile that obviously you're Brandon Upson, an accomplished political strategist, youth advocate, organizer, and speaker. Who else is Brandon Upson these days?
A father and a husband. Those are the two most important parts of who I am today. You know my wife, Monica. We have 3 beautiful kids. Our oldest just turned 4, and our middle daughter is about to turn 3 on Friday.
Wow.
And our son will be 2 in October.
Wow, that's so amazing. Yeah. And obviously, too, you are the founder of the Unity Initiative, a community organization that is aimed at building strong relationships between youth and law enforcement officials.
Yes.
Can I stop there? What is the state of what really is the relationship between law enforcement officials and the youth today in your mind?
Yeah, it's different from state to state and even county to county. But overall, I think there is a gap in understanding. One of the things that led me to start that organization was I was in Aiken, South Carolina, walking with a couple kids that I mentor, and we saw a police officer pass by. And one of the kids said he was about to run. So I was like, hold on, why are you trying to run?
Right.
You know, he's like, well, you know, we're out here by ourselves. You never know what a police officer will do. And at that point, I figured that we had to do something. So we started the organization, the Unity Initiative, with the aim to bring the youth and law enforcement together so that the kids know that our police officers aren't the boogeyman. And then our police officers realize that our kids are just that, kids, and not enemy combatants. So we can build positive relationships and build a portfolio of positive interactions to build a stronger community.
And obviously, that particular discussion has creeped into the political discussion recently.
Definitely, definitely.
How do you view that in your mind?
Yeah, change starts from the bottom up, right? It starts with the community. And now that the community is seeing that, hey, we have an issue here, and now that community has outlets like Twitter and Facebook and Instagram to gain voice to their feelings, now it's risen and it's gone up the chain to our elected officials. And I think that unless our elected officials and our candidates running for office take the issues that we have seriously and make a determined effort to bring forth realistic policy to build those relationships and start holding people accountable to their actions, we'll never really see the change. So it has to be a team effort all the way around.
And you talk about team effort. Obviously, you and a couple other people helped as much as you could as far as getting Phil Noble to become the next governor of South Carolina.
Yes, we did.
Unfortunately, he didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
How would you describe Brandon Upson as a campaign manager for that campaign?
For that campaign, oh man, Brandon Upson was almost a Tasmanian devil. And I say it because I was running that campaign on 1,000 miles per hour. You know, I equate campaigns to, just use an analogy, to boats. You know, a small boat would be a city council race or a county council race, where it's cheap to buy a little bass boat. They move fast and they can turn on a dime. A big campaign like a federal race or a gubernatorial race would be like a cargo ship. They're expensive, it takes a lot of personnel to operate it, and they move a little slower. Now we were trying to operate a big cargo ship with a bass boat budget and personnel. So because of that, I had to wear a lot of hats. And my small staff, we only had 4 to 5 full-time staff members. We were working to the best of our ability. And my drill sergeant hat comes out sometimes, you know, just to keep us focused and disciplined. But most importantly, I knew that we had a huge responsibility, not just to Phil or to each other, but to the direction of the state. And I feel what we were able to accomplish with Phil Noble's campaign, I believe that we were the most influential campaign in that primary. If you look at how our messaging impacted both the Democratic primary and the Republican primary, it shifted the policy discussion of both primaries. So I think we were successful in that regard, but we were definitely outmanned, outspent, and outmaneuvered.
You talk about the policy discussion. What is that discussion like right now? As obviously James Smith goes up against Henry Masters for the gubernatorial race.
Yeah, so that discussion, you're going to start seeing it shift more to the center. James, his position stayed pretty center. We pulled him a little to the left on certain issues, but everyone is going for the independent votes and trying to see where those people stand going towards November. So there's not going to be a big talk about raising the minimum wage, reforming the justice system and all other good stuff. It won't be a Bernie Sanders type discussion going on. But we need to continue to force our candidates and future elected officials to talk about the issues that matter to us most, like healthcare, like income, like social justice issues. So we can't allow them to run away from it. And I hope that the folks watching this interview will keep that in mind.
You talk about James Smith.
Mm-hmm.
James Smith.
Yeah.
How close are you to endorsing him for governor?
Yeah. Oh, I think that he's definitely the best candidate we have running for governor right now, without a doubt. Anything that their campaign needs, I'm willing to help because my family is here in South Carolina. I haven't left South Carolina permanently because I love this state and I was born and raised here. And I want to see it become the place where I would love for my children to grow and thrive and their children to grow and thrive. But right now, as South Carolina sits today, it is not that place where I believe that my children could grow and thrive here.
And obviously you're from Aiken.
Yeah.
From Aiken to Charleston.
Oh, yeah.
How would you describe yourself? How would you write really a story about you, Brandon Upson?
Yeah. If I was to write a book, it would be overcoming the odds. You know, growing up in Aiken, I was the second oldest of six. My mom had two, myself and my sister Sabrina, and my father was incarcerated when I was 3 months old. Right now, he's facing a life sentence. And every statistic that you can think of that would attach itself to a young black boy in the South, period, would say that I'm supposed to be dead or incarcerated right now. You know, even when I joined the Army, I was on the trailblazing missions, clearing routes of IEDs and improvised explosive devices. I qualified to be on a small kills team, a 4-man team where, you know, if you look at the odds, one of us wasn't supposed to make it. And I've made it to this point, you know, through the grace of God. And I always tell the kids I mentor, I am now the sum of all the decisions I made in my life. And they brought me to this point, good, bad, and indifferent. And last year, or this past primary, I was the only African American running a gubernatorial campaign in the country. You know, and I had mixed feelings about that, but I took that responsibility that came inherent in that role.
And obviously you have 7+ years of political experience. What has politics taught you about yourself?
man, that's a great question. Most importantly, it's taught me that I need to, especially after this last campaign, I definitely need to focus on self-help. You know, making sure that I don't pour out more than I have in my cup. You know, at the end of this past campaign, it took me about 7 weeks to recover, because, you know, sometimes I was working 20 hours a day, and couple that with being a father and a husband, right? It's very taxing on someone's body. But I would learn about my own boundaries and my own capabilities. I learned that I can be a magician sometimes. I can pull a rabbit out the hat. And we had to pull a couple rabbits this last go. But I definitely learned that. And I learned that I have the capacity to build great relationships. Some of my best friends are people I met on the trail. Right. You know, Abe Jenkins is a great mentor. Robert Flood is like a second father. Now Phil Noble is a great friend. Even Robert Ford is a good friend. You know, so these are people that have shown great loyalty to me, and I thank God for them. And that's what the political experience has taught me.
Your future.
Yeah.
How would you write a headline about your future in your mind?
The guy who kicked open the door. That's what I would like my future to be. Like I said, this past primary season, I was the only African American runner to do a gubernatorial race, and not just in South Carolina, but in the country. And when we shared that information after confirming it with other people, folks looked at me like, "Oh, you should be honored. You know, that's a great honor and a privilege." It's like, yes, I'm definitely honored. I'm greatly humbled by the selection and having that responsibility. But I was a little troubled at the same time, because I know 10 to 15 young people, black and brown people, talented, who could, you know, almost run circles around me, who could definitely run a legitimate, incredible statewide campaign. But those opportunities, for whatever reason, haven't been granted to folks who look like me. And so it made me do more research, and I learned that even in the Democratic and progressive landscape, in campaigns, white men dominate political campaigns in senior positions. They are normally the ones being the lead consultants and the campaign managers. In progressive organizations, white women are the ones who predominantly are the executive directors of these organizations. I looked up, I just Googled American progressive organizations, and the first 60, out of that 60, over 50 of them had white women as the executive director. And the reason why that troubled me is because these organizations, they gain their relevancy because black and brown people support them and vote for their candidates. In South Carolina, you cannot win a Democratic primary without winning the African American vote. But why aren't our administrations and campaign teams and organizations reflecting the demographic that you're looking to serve and service? You know, so in the future, I want to be able to bring more, not just equality, but equity to our landscape, our progressive and democratic landscape, and recruit, develop, and place more black and brown talent in key positions in administrations and political campaigns.
This might be a complicated question, but were you enough for the Phil Noble campaign? Did you do all that you could have done in your mind?
You know, I definitely left it all on the field for what I had at that time. But looking back, there are a couple of things that I would have done differently. You know, going into that race, I looked up to Phil as a political legend, you know, And then when I looked at our advisory team, they were, to me, another team of legends and people that I just honored and revered. So for a while, I took a back seat to their suggestions instead of forcing the ideas that I had and brought them to the forefront. Knowing what I know now, I would have started leading with the ideas that I had in the beginning instead of taking a back seat. And that would have given me more endurance to, because towards the end, I was doing almost every department, finance, political organizing, field organizing, communication, social media,
Right.
On top of trying to be the campaign manager and a surrogate for the campaign, crisscrossing the state.
Right.
So I definitely would have done that differently, but I do believe that for what it was, I was enough. We just didn't have enough money.
Wow.
Right, and let's say every campaign that I've run where we've hit our financial goals, I've won 100% of the time. And the ones that we've come close to hitting our financial goals, there's a good hit and miss rate there. But I believe if we had the money, we would have won. If you look at the polls had us leading in January and tied in April. And that was largely because of the messaging campaign we led. We just didn't have the organization and the funds in order to turn out those votes.
Describe to me the following one word: the state of the Democratic Party.
The state of the Democratic Party, I would say it's in transition. I know that's not one word.
Oh, no
but
worries.
in transition.
Joe Cunningham.
Joe Cunningham, charismatic.
Joe Riley.
Joe Riley, hero.
He is. He's a great guy. He's a great guy. Well, Brandon Upson, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
No, thank you. I really enjoyed it.
Same here.
Yeah.
Thank
See
you.
you soon.
Okay. Thank you. Great.